Hello and welcome to Binge Watch, the podcast where we take a look at the hottest new TV and film releases on streaming television platforms. I'm Hannah Fernando, the group editor of Woman and Woman and Home magazine.
And I'm Ian McEwan, writer on TV and Satellite Week, TV Times and What's on TV magazines. And today we're looking at the new releases that will be available on Friday the 17th of October, including Jason Clarke and Patricia Arquette in the fact-based crime drama Murdaugh's Death in the Family
on Disney Plus,
and a celebration of the life and career of American film director Martin Scorsese in the Apple TV Plus documentary series Mr. Scorsese.
And we'll also be checking out an animated film of Roald Dahl classic The Twits, love that, on Netflix, and period Swedish language drama series To Cook a Bear, of course, on Disney Plus. But first, Ian, what is in the news?
The hit Brad Pitt motor racing film F1 the Movie will make its streaming debut on Apple TV Plus, which is rebranding as just Apple TV in December. What else is in the news, Hannah?
Well, the Game of Thrones spin-off A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms will land on Now TV in January.
Good stuff. Well, variety is the spice of life, and it's the spice of this week's pod because we have an animated film, we have a documentary series, we have a period drama, and we have a true crime drama. What do you think about that? We're going to start on Apple TV Plus, while it's still Apple TV Plus, with a 5-part documentary series called Mr. Scorsese. And here's a clip.
Where are we going? What stories do we want to tell? I knew I could express myself with pictures, but I had to find my own way.
Well, Martin Scorsese has directed some of my favourite films, including the superb Goodfellas. He's also done Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, works a lot with the same actors, doesn't he? Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Harvey Keitel. And this is a look back at his life and career with extensive contributions from him and from people he's worked with. I've watched episode 1 and it's fascinating because he talks about his childhood growing up in the 1940s in New York's Lower East Side. And, lots of people living in one room. And the reason he got interested in films was he had asthma. And he used to get taken to the cinema because it was air conditioned. So it was easier for him to breathe. So that's what kind of ignited his love of film. And he was very influenced by the sort of new wave European directors. And meanwhile, from living in Little Italy, where there was a sort of mafia presence, you can see why he was very much drawn to that world in a series of films, of great films. So you've got the likes of Spielberg, De Niro, Daniel Day-Lewis, Leonardo DiCaprio. And this first episode, he did take on a movie called Boxcar Bertha, which he finished, but he was advised, just make films that you really want to make, that you love, and he took that on board, and what a career he has had. He's such an outstanding filmmaker, and he just comes across as such a lovely guy. I mean, no one's got a bad word to say about him. And coming from really humble beginnings, I'm sure, when living where he lived and in the community, the idea that he was going to grow up and become a film director, people must have thought, you're mad, that's never going to happen. But he did, and he just comes across incredibly well. He's very articulate, and you're going to see clips from all these wonderful films. So, I absolutely love this. What did you think, Hannah?
I love anything where you get to know more about a person, because obviously they're kind of the person behind so many things that we absolutely love, and then you get to see why they are like they are, and why they produce like they do, and why they direct like they do, or where they act like they do, etc., etc. And I think we talk about this a lot in music documentaries and sports documentaries as well, where you get to sort of see behind the curtain and really get to see the person. And I had no idea about his asthma. I had no idea about kind of how he'd got to where he'd got to. And I love kind of the idea of, when I think when I watch anything of his anymore, I'm going to see it through a different lens in a way of how he was, how he sees things. So, he says he was always looking out of the window, and that's why he likes those high angle shots. And of course, when you look back at so many of these productions, that's exactly what you see. And so, as you say, I mean, just an absolutely incredible talent, 82 years old now, which is, shocks me as well to a degree, although it feels like he's been around forever. It's, I don't know, you come away learning something about somebody who really has made such a mark on the industry. So thoroughly recommend.
Over on Netflix, we have a new feature-length animation called The Twits. And here's a clip.
Once upon a time, there were two terrible twins. The twits hate everything, especially each other.
Worms! You're eating worms! You grisly old grunion!
Turmoil tonight. The Twits declared war on some local orphan children.
Where are they?
We're all gonna die! No one's gonna die, Harold.
This was absolutely one of my favourite Roald Dahl stories. And it's funny because when I was watching this to review this now, I was kind of reading some articles from some of the different people that voice the parts, like Johnny Vegas, for example, who plays Mr. Twit. And not all of them knew a lot about the Twits. It feels like it was kind of one of the Roald Dahl books that sort of sat in all the others' shadow, like, Charlie and Chocolate Factory has already been made, hasn't it? Matilda, so many of them. But I absolutely love the Twits, and I can remember listening to it on a cassette tape. That shows my age, doesn't it? And listening to the story and just how brilliant it was. So, and it always concerns me when something's made into a production when you've loved the book so much, because you think, oh, what's going to happen? And this is a little bit different. And actually, the same interview with Johnny Vegas, he said, look, it might inspire people who haven't read the book to read the book. And I can see it working that way round too. So the Twits are just these odious, disgusting characters that hate everyone, including each other. I mean, how they found each other. Well, they say there's always someone for someone, isn't there? And clearly, in this case, for the Twits, that's exactly right. They are stinky and mean and horrid, and they trick each other. And there's one scene where it looks like she's being really nice to Mrs. Twit, and she gives him this bowl of spaghetti, tomato spaghetti, and it's actually a bowl of worms. Well, of course, if you've read the book and you've listened to the cassette like I have, you've been invested in the story, you'll know that, you'll know what's coming. But it delivers on kind of all of those central parts of the story. Absolutely delivers on. And this follows their story, but also of rebellion, because they have a bit of a moment, really, because they become very powerful in a short space of time, and they go into battle with these very brave orphans. So so many of Roald Dahl's books are exactly about this. It's about the child taking on the adults, and of course the children are usually the brainier ones, the cleverer ones. Matilda being a really good example of that. And so you see lots of tricking and silliness and good overcoming evil, having that kind of thread running through it too. I really enjoyed it, and I have to say I'm a fan anyway. It is a bit different to the books, and I think when you read a book in your mind, or you've heard a cassette in the way that I have, those voices, they're different in this. Of course they are. There are different people voicing those characters, but it is very, very funny, and I think it will be a real family hit. It's one for the whole family. What did you think?
I did enjoy it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, The Twits is one of the Dahl books that I'm not familiar with, but I got the impression that they had changed or introduced quite a lot. So, for instance, presumably they don't run a theme park in the book. Is that right?
Exactly.
So there's that,
yes,
and then there are these magical animals that live at the theme park. Are they in the book? Okay, but anyway, and it's transplanted to America, of course. But you do have Johnny Vegas voicing Mr. Twit, and he's a great choice. I must say, there's a couple of songs. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. But yeah, it certainly departed quite radically from the original by the sound of things. But there have been some terrific adaptations of Roald Dahl books. James and the Giant Peach, of course. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Great animated stop motion version of that. And of course, Matilda and the BFG. And I think this stands up pretty well by comparison. And I watched it from start to finish and enjoyed it. Coming up next, 2 Disney Plus offerings for you to enjoy. First up, over on Disney Plus, we have a period Swedish language drama series called To Cook a Bear. And here's a clip.
I came to the borderland to bring the true meaning of God.
I'm Master Sheldon.
Welcome to the village.
What's that lab doing here?
He's Yusi, my son. Here I found an evil that I had never before seen.
An unthinkable disaster has struck our village.
This is set in 19th century Sweden, and the main character, Lars Levi Lystadius, was a real person. So he was a pastor who founded a revivalist movement, and he was very engaged in trying to save his congregations from alcoholism, which was pretty rampant, not least because a lot of people were paid in alcohol, basically. As I say, it's Swedish language. It's adapted from the novel of the same name. So although Levi was a real person, fascinating character, in this, it's a fictional murder mystery. Okay, so he and his he's played by Gustav Skarsgård, who I was lucky enough to have a chat with. He's part of the Skarsgård acting dynasty. So he and his family moved to this isolated village in the Arctic Circle, and then a young girl goes missing, and it is thought that she may have been killed by a bear. So when he's in the pulpit, he wears an incredible outfit when he's preaching, like this massive kind of Elizabethan style ruff. So he's got this adopted son who is from quite an oppressed community. He's called Jussi. He's played by Emil Karlsson, and he's very much his protege. So Levi is really interested in botany, but he's also kind of an amateur sleuth as well. So he starts looking into, okay, what happened to this girl? And then there's another attack, and then you'll find out how it unfolds. What I particularly like about it looks great, and often with these period dramas from hundreds of years ago, like everyone's going around with like perfect teeth and really clean clothes, but in this, I mean, they're all filthy. I mean, they look like they're living a rough, tough life in the middle of nowhere, and it's got that kind of, there are these characters like the grave digger, the shopkeeper, that kind of are familiar from, say, those Clint Eastwood type spaghetti westerns, that kind of thing, in one of which there was a pastor, of course, and Levi is just referred to as the pastor, so they're kind of playing on that. I really liked it. It's very different, and it's easy to watch, even though you're going to be watching with subtitles, of course. And Skarsgård is actually next up. He told me he's going to play the Swedish detective Wallander. Much loved Swedish detective. So, I thought it was great. Is this your kind of thing, Hannah?
Different, isn't it? I never know how I feel about subtitles, because I find that the kids put them on anything all the time. It just becomes, it's natural for them to do it, and I never have them. It's a thing, yeah. It's a thing, yeah. They absolutely do it, and I find it quite distracting, because I like to listen to what they're actually saying. But yeah, they do it all the time. So I'm unsure of that, but I have got more used to it in recent times, because the kids, as I say, do it quite a lot. The whole kind of cult part of this is the bit that kind of, is a bit creepy for me. That sort of has a real kind of cult vibe about it. But the whodunit element of it is really good. It's very, very different. And now you point out about the teeth, you're so right, aren't you? They're kind of these olden day times where they're living a really rough life and they've got, brilliantly white, huge grins and absolutely don't here. So it feels very, very genuine and authentic. So, something very different, I think, in recent times, actually.
Well, we're going to finish with another new Disney Plus drama series. This one is called Murdaugh, Death in the Family. And here's a clip.
The Murdaughs are a South Carolina legal dynasty.
Y'all know me. I'm an honest man.
Oh, you cheating bastard.
It's only cheating if you get caught.
What happened?
There's been an accident.
They find her?
One's still missing.
So many people will know this story already, and I'm going to try and talk about it without giving too much away, although it's easy to look up because this is based on a true crime story. And this is about a family, a very well-connected family. It's they live in South Carolina, and in the legal system, there isn't anyone they don't know. They arguably control kind of absolutely everything. But I always think this. If you sit back long enough, the bodies float by, and that's kind of what happens here, really. And there's no pun intended with that because, of course, there is a tragic boating accident, and that is the beginning of the unraveling of what's been going on in this family. So they're leading the high life, or to the outside world, they look like they've got absolutely everything, money, notoriety, a loving sort of scenario. But really, beneath it all, it's really very, very murky. So this has been dramatised into an 8-part series. And it just tells the story of exactly what happened and how the wheels came off. And it all starts when their teenager, the Murdaugh's child, Paul, one of them, crashes the family boat into a bridge. Several friends on board, he was drunk. And he was charged with being under the influence while piloting the boat. But while there are sort of the family start filing lawsuits, the Murdaughs want to stop all of this. They want and have total control. But whilst that's going on, there's another tragedy. And I'm not sure whether I should say this bit or not. I feel like I'm just giving too much away. But essentially, there's murders, and it's very well done. This, I mean, as I say, it's not difficult to look up the story. You may well be aware of this story. But I think it's really well done because, of course, it is around this sort of horror season at the moment. Halloween is coming up, and there is a sort of element of fear based throughout this, although the story is really murky and horrid. And this has got this sort of, it's really quite jumpy in places. The music is really atmospheric. They have done it really very well. It's very, very dramatic. I think there are really powerful scenes in this that brings this whole story to life, I suppose. But not only that, it's not just sort of the kind of the wanton drive to have power and money and everything, but also the other side of it, when all the wheels start to come off, actually seeing somebody very raw, very broken, and perhaps the reason why they are where they are now. So I think this is actually very, very good. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I did watch the documentary series about the Murdaugh murders on Netflix. It's still on there, I think, and it was really good. So it starts off, you think, oh, it's a crime drama about this boating accident where this one of their sons, who's a real kind of nasty character, Paul, he's played by Johnny Berthold from Reacher. He's taking his mates out on this boat. He's drunk. He's playing up, and he crashes it into a bridge, and there's a tragedy. And you think, it's all about that then, presumably, and him, getting tried for that. It evolves into a totally different and shocking, unexpected, complicated story about the family. And I think they've done it justice here. It's a very good dramatisation. Jason Clarke, who from Zero Dark 30, the Aussie actor, so we had him last week, didn't we, in The Last Frontier. He was great in that. He's good as Alex Murdaugh, the patriarch, in this, who is a challenging character. Troubled marriage to his wife Margaret, played by the brilliant Patricia Arquette, who people might know from Severance. And then you've got Will Harrison from Daisy Jones and the Six, plays the other son, Buster, and there's kind of like some sibling rivalry between the two sons because Buster is off to law school to continue the family tradition of, getting involved in the legal system. So yeah, it looks great, and I would say, don't Google it. Hold off watching the documentary series if you haven't, and just let the drama tell the story, because it's really good, and it's based on the hit podcast that kind of made the Murdaugh story very famous. And one of the journalists who did the podcast was heavily involved in the series, and her character appears in the series, and she's played by Brittany Snow from Pitch Perfect 2. So highly recommended. It's really well done, and it's, oh my god, what a story. Now we've got to that time, young Hannah Maladio, we find out what the hell you've been binge watching.
Well, I have been dipping my toe into the Strictly waters, but mainly it has to be the traitors, Ian. Celebrity traitors, absolutely.
Good stuff. Yes, Strictly for me as well. Thank goodness Ross has gone. He was dreadful at dancing, I hasten to add. He's a nice guy. I've never got into traitors before, but I really enjoyed the first episode of the celebrity version, and Alan Carr. What a star. I mean, I loved him already, but he's gold dust in that. Anyway, I won't say any more. I watched a film called Fall, which, if you suffer from vertigo, I think it's on BBC iPlayer. Don't watch it if you suffer from vertigo, but it's good, it's gripping. And I tried to get into the Sally Wainwright series Riot Women, which is on iPlayer, which is about these sort of middle-aged women who form like a punk band, and it's had some real rave reviews, but I'm not sure. I don't know if you saw any of it, Hannah, but I found it quite difficult to get into. Anyway, I'll stick with it because so many critics have raved about it, so I think if I hang in there, perhaps it'll win me over. Anyway, enough of me nattering on. We've just got time to look ahead to next week's offering. So what is on the agenda, Brenda?
Well, Harlan Coben's thriller Lazarus, starring Sam Claflin and Bill Nighy, lands on Prime Video.
And Ben Stiller documents the lives and careers of his showbiz parents in Apple TV Plus documentary film Stiller and Mira, Nothing Is Lost. So we look forward to those and much, much more. But in the meantime, dear listeners, keep watching!